Claude just released a brand new feature called Managed Agents, and it's the biggest leap forward for building AI agents that us no-code builders have ever seen. The thing is, it doesn't just give you new capabilities, but it completely removes the nightmare of building secure and scalable AI agents that you can actually use in your own business or sell to other businesses. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what managed agents do, the pricing structure of it because it's a bit unique, and when you should use it versus using other tools such as N8N or Claude Code. And so here we are on Twitter. Claude broke this news on Twitter, and you can see it already has 8 million views in just about 7 hours of this post being made, as well as a ton of comments, 1.3 thousand, and a ton of likes. And so what actually is Claude Managed Agents? So if you come to your Claude console, which is basically where they host all of their API documentation and everything like that, you will see this brand new tab called Managed Agents. And I'm just going to dive right in and build an agent and then sort of talk through all the different aspects such as pricing and what it actually does as we're doing that. And so, for example, in this video, I'm going to be building an AI agent that will take an invoice and then send it in a Slack channel to me as the business owner so that I can verify every time my employees update or upload invoices for something they're being charged for in my business. I can keep tabs of all that, make sure everything looks good. And so that is essentially what this AI agent will do. Now you can see when you do this, there are some templates over here if you just want to get started with one of those. I'm not going to be using those because anybody could click on those. And so the agent I want to build is I want to build an AI agent that takes invoice data and then sends a Slack message in a Slack channel to myself. And that way I can keep track of all the invoices that my employees are uploading and everything being charged to my business. And if you ever built GPTs when those first came out with ChatGPT and there's a bunch of hype around them, this really reminds me of the beefed up version of this because you're actually able in this own environment to build pretty much any AI agent. And so you'll see here, once we say that, it gives us the option to keep refining. And basically what we're refining is the name description, the model, the system, anything over here that might not look correct, you could edit. This looks all good to me, so I'm going to create this agent. And so now that we have set up this agent, we have to configure the environment. And so you will see that there actually are 4 core steps that walks you through to building an agent. First, we already got through the first one. So next is configuring the environment. After that, it'll be starting a session, which is actually testing the agent and seeing what it will look like in production. And then lastly, it'll be integrating it. And so the next question it asks us, and I've actually been asked this every time I've been building an agent with this, is whether you want the networking to be limited to whatever tools you're specifically using or unrestricted, meaning it can go out, search, and use a bunch of other tools outside of just Slack. So I'm going to say unrestricted. I believe in giving agents a lot of agency, and so I typically will go with that. So now that our environment is ready, and basically our environment just means it has access to everything it needs to have access to, such as our Slack credentials, which I'll show you how to do that in a second. We're ready to start the session. So you see, it'll actually ask us which Slack channel to post the invoice summaries to. So you can see I've already created one called invoices. And so it actually just correctly gets that. If it was something else, I'd have to type that in. But let's select that here. And so you can see it identified that we don't have any API key access to Slack right now. And so that's an issue because obviously we need that to send messages. We need that to send messages to and from Slack. And so what it creates is something called a vault, which is sort of like a .env folder. It gets a bit confusing because there's environments and credential vaults. But these credential vaults, I would say, are specific to a person or an organization who have their own API keys. And then the environment is sort of like that .env folder. And so it's almost like if you had multiple custom .env folders across your entire organization. What it's asking to do here is get authorization to use this MCP. And so I'm going to acknowledge the credential is shared. I'm responsible for its storage and use. Then I'm going to click connect. And what it should do is open up the OAuth so that I can just sign into Slack, and then it gets access to everything it needs access to. So I'm going to click allow, and boom, you can see the Slack credential has been added to this vault. And so I can actually use this credential vault across different agents. I can share it with whoever I need to share it with. I wouldn't recommend sharing your credential vaults at all. But just know that it exists as a separate entity from the actual, invoice tracker bot agent we're creating right now. And so now it's time for a test run, or what you might see called a session, which is really just a chat with the agent. And so here's an invoice to track. I actually have my own data I sort of pre-prepared for this. And so let me copy this and throw it in here. And let's see how it performs. You can see in this preview, there's two ways we can actually view this. There's a debug log, which shows you everything the agent is doing, such as our message, the user message, the session actually running, any tool calls, it thinking, any responses, etc. Then you have the transcript, which is just what you would see back and forth. So let's see what happened. It ran into an error trying to send the Slack message. And it ran into a protocol error. I have no idea what that is, but hopefully the agent's actually able to figure it out. And it looks like it was. So let's check our Slack invoices. And you can see there's a new invoice submitted for tracking. And it sends from my account because it's logged in through my API key. But you can see me as a business owner could go in and say that I'm looking at this, and then, perhaps okay it, say everything looks good there. Now, if you're looking to integrate AI into your own business, please click the link down below to book a call with us at arose.ai. If you'd like to work with me, this is a no strings attached intro call just to see if you're a good fit. Now back to the agent. It said the test run looks solid. There was a protocol error that the agent self-recovered from. Any fixes you'd like to make before integrating. Now, I probably would refine this a bit, but for sake of the video and not making it too long, I want to say rerun as is. And so now we're going to move on to the integration step. And so basically you can see what it does here is it guides you to actually build an endpoint in Claude Code, basically your own API, where you can now call that API and everything that happened in here, where it goes through, it takes that information and it digests it and then sends a Slack message. You can now do remotely. You don't have to do it inside this quick start tab or this preview tab. You can actually deploy the agent. And a couple other cool things you could do that I won't actually show you in this video is you could ask Claude Code to build you an entire front end. So maybe you're then dragging and dropping a PDF. It's an internal tool you share within your own company. Really, the sky's the limit with what you can build here, which is why I want to talk a bit more about when is this actually useful. So I brought you over to a quick whiteboard here to show you what I have found to be the three sort of defining features of this managed agent feature within Claude. And it really sits at what I believe is an intersection between Claude Code and things like N8N. That is horrible writing. It's really hard to write with amounts. But here's where I believe the Manage Agents feature actually sits, because with Claude Code, it's great. You can build anything. You benefit from it being custom code. And the problem with that is that you are responsible for all the security, all the DevOps, all the things such as scaling that are difficult, especially if you don't have a background in it. Whereas N8N or Make.com or these no-code platforms are really good at these, smaller, very specific tasks. They handle all the security stuff for you. You know exactly how they scale, even if they aren't the most scalable. They might cost a bit more, but at least you know how much it will cost. You have the support of whatever teams are behind them. And so it was a big jump for a lot of people to go from these no-code platforms over fully to custom code to Claude Code. I believe this Managed Agents feature sits at the middle as a great sort of transition, but also a great stopping point for a lot of people when building these agents. And that's for these reasons I outlined down here. First are the vaults I talked about, where each client, say you're an agency, each client or each employee within your business gets their own vault to store their API keys, tokens, database credentials, um, and you never see or handle their raw API keys. They just connect directly through those OAuth flows that I just showed you. And so clients can actually revoke access anytime without you touching their accounts, which just removes a whole mess of problems and is significant cybersecurity risk if you don't have that. As for the client onboarding process, you could create templates such as, a transcript to ClickUp tasks, or the one I just created where it's an invoice to a Slack message, where the client can connect their own ClickUp, Notion, whatever, Slack through the OAuth pop-up. Their credentials get stored in their vault, not yours, and you can run agents using their tools without, again, accessing their raw API keys. And then lastly, isolation and permissions is each client's agent runs in separate containers or environments, and their data never touches other clients' environments. And so you can give team members different permission levels, and clients can audit exactly what data the agent can access. Again, it really just lives in this happy, secure medium where a lot of the risks are managed by Anthropic and Claude themselves versus it being all on you if you were to custom code it using Claude Code. And so the last thing I do want to mention is the cost. And so you can see the cost I ran up today was about $3 in total. And that was just from building an agent or two. And this cost is not included in any Claude plan, which is really unfortunate. So even if you have the max plan, you will be having to pay API token prices here. And so it's all usage based. And again, none of that is covered by any existing pricing plan you have. And so if you would like to continue learning about AI agents and how to use them, I really recommend joining my completely free community, Applied AI Academy. The link is down below. And thank you for watching.